Welcome to the session, African Folk Storytelling. Here, Ikpe ogwumagala, okpoko. The theme of the story is Ikpe ogwumagala, okpoko. Meaning, a judgment against a chameleon is against hornbill. I mean the bird called hornbill. Once upon a time, in a distant past in Africa, things started getting out of hand in the community of animals. So the animals wanted to have someone to lead them out of the problem. They asked their town crier to announce a day for a meeting. The meeting was for them to select the leader. Finally, the day came. They all gathered at their meeting place. Parrot, an orator, the mouthpiece of the community. He detailed the purpose of the meeting with sonorous voice. In short, they wanted someone to be their leader, but the one should have good knowledge and experience. For that reason, he should be the oldest one in the community. So Chameleon got up. Member of our community began, "Agree to you. It is said, seeing is believing. You see how I shake as I walk. This began when I was born. I was born when the earth was just a baby, the planet Earth. When he was just a baby, very soft and fragile. So I walked on it carefully, shaking, making sure that I did not damage it. Since then, this is how I walk." The animals were stunned. Lion, the warrior of the land, he was there. So they asked him if he had anything to say. Lion laughed, stroking his beard in a mixture of shyness and submission. He said, "Please don't call me. It's not me. That I am strong doesn't mean that I am the oldest one in the community. Please, I'm not qualified." Then they turned to Elephant, a giant, and they asked him if he had anything to say. Elephant stamped heavily on the ground, almost shaking the earth. He asked them, "What is it that is shaking?" They said, "It is the earth that is shaking." Then he said, "If my stamping can shake the earth, the matured earth, what do you think that it would do to a baby earth?" They said that it would crush it. He said, "Then you have answered the question. I was born as a big and heavy one. I was born when the earth was matured, so that it would carry me, not when it was a baby." It seems everything was going in favor of Chameleon. So Chameleon was happy, rejoicing, excited. He was waiting anxiously for him to be made the leader. Now, they were about to make him the leader. It was then that Hornbill got up and spoke. "Member of our community, agree to you. There's something I want to say, although nobody asked me to speak." "Speak out," they permitted him. Then he went on. "I agree with Chameleon. Seeing is believing. What Chameleon told you is true because I witnessed it." They nodded in agreement, thinking that he was ratifying what Chameleon claimed to be. Then he went on. "I witnessed it because I am older than Chameleon." They looked at each other in surprise, and they gazed at him, waiting for an evidence. He said, "You see my head here, the structure on the head. It's a grave. I was born when the earth was not yet born. So water covered every space. I and my parents flew over the water. Then when my parents died, there was no land to bury them. So I buried them here. This is their grave. Without wasting time, they made him their leader. Now it happened to be that one day, elephant was going to a forest to get some food, and the antelope was returning. So antelope greeted him. Instead of greeting back, he called antelope tiny leg. So antelope replied by calling him swollen leg. Elephant got angry. He chased antelope, screaming, swearing, trumpeting angrily. But some animals came and defended antelope. But there were some that supported elephant. So they took the matter to their leader, Hornbill. When they presented the case to Hornbill, Hornbill was very happy because he felt it was a simple matter which he had the solution. Again, it was an opportunity for him to prove that he was the qualified leader. So he said to them, to stop this thing happening again, stay away from each other. Maintain a reasonable distance from each other. Everyone go to your home. Stay in your home. Don't go to another one's home. If you do this, the community will be quiet and peaceful. They asked him, yes, we can go to our home, but eventually we will be going out to look for our food. And in the process, we will interact again. So what do we do? He said, then in that case, before going out, you look. If someone is over there, if someone is out there, you wait. When he finished, then you can go. They asked him, how long do we have to wait? Suppose that he stays there for the whole day. He said to them, no, don't worry. He will eventually get tired and then you can go. So the animals disagreed. They asked him, we made you our leader to lead us out of a problem. Why are you giving us a suggestion that will lead to increase of our problem? He said to them, look, don't come here to challenge the wisdom and the authority of the oldest one in the land. Go home and do what I told you to do. Angry and disappointed, the animals left him. They went to Chameleon. They felt that since Chameleon was second to the oldest in the community, that he might have a better answer. So when they presented their case to Chameleon, Chameleon began. Is this? He was trying to figure out a solution. Maybe by now he felt he got it. He turned to Antelope and said, you are guilty. You are guilty. Apologize. Apologize to Elephant now. Apologize for your rudeness. Beg him to forgive you. Those that supported Antelope intervened. They said, no, no, no. We told you that Elephant started the whole thing. Antelope greeted him. Instead of greeting back, he called him name. What Antelope did was that he replied. So he said to them, he shouldn't have replied. He turned to Antelope and asked, don't you have a respect for someone who is bigger than you? Huh? That annoyed Antelope and his supporters. They protested. Noise of protest and frustration shook the whole community. When Hornbill heard it, he laughed and rejoiced. He said, yes, it is as a result of their disobedience that if they had listened to what he told them to do, if they had listened to him, if they had obeyed his instruction, that the community would have been quiet and peaceful. But because of their disobedience, that community was in disorder. He rejoiced and said, yes, it is the fruit of their disobedience that let them reap it, that let them suffer it. He laughed and he jeered at them. At the same time, Tortoise was in his place. Old man, he was in his house, sitting in front of a log fire. When he heard the noise, he inquired about the cause. He found out. Then he invited all the animals to his compound. They presented their case to him. Tortoise ruminated on the matter and then began with the saying, Onye njeghị ije ka onye isi ahụghị ama, meaning a traveler is wiser than one with gray hair. He said, there is no problem under the sun which I don't have the solution. This is not just because I am old, but because I was a traveler. I traveled far and wide. But that was in those days, when the energy was there. No longer these days, when old age has taken its toll, to the extent that a man can't even attend a community meeting. A community meeting of which the place is a stone's throw from here. A meeting for selecting those who would be our leader to lead us out of a problem. He laughed in derision, alluding to their making Hornbill their leader. Then he went on. Yes, the story that I'm going to tell you now will lead to a solution of your problem. It's a story of something that happened in a land far away many years ago. The name of the land is Woodland. Hey, Woodland, a great place, a great land. Animals from the four corners of the earth came to the land for various reasons, including trade exchange. Some of you here love eating liana fruit. It is in Woodland that we get the best of the fruit because the suppliers are monkeys. No one can beat monkeys in harvesting the fruit. They got the skill of the harvest right from the day they were born. Remember what a monkey said? I carried my baby jumping from tree to tree, not knowing when he plucked liana fruit on the earth. This will show you that they got the skill right from the day they were born. In those days, squirrels, they would gather nuts and seeds and loaded them in their barn. They would wait until the nuts and seeds were scarce in every community. They would then carry them to Woodland and they made a fortune. One day, I was there. Nkaku, Shrew, he came all the way from his land. You know, Shrew is an animal with a bad smell. The same period, Mbe, the smallest of all mice, he came all the way from his land. When Shrew saw him, Shrew laughed and laughed and laughed. He called him Mbe the small mouse. If this your size is the size of an adult in your land, I wonder what a size of baby could be. He laughed again. Then Mbe the small mouse replied, starting with the saying, Okpoko amaghị obi onye ọchịchị, meaning, he who talks does not know the mind of he who is to reply. He called him, Shrew, if how you smell is how a living being smells, I wonder how a dead one in your land would smell. Shrew was provoked. He cried out, Nnamuho ewatami gulishi. Onye ka mma aka ọmụ ọnụ. He who I am better than has mocked me. He went for a fight. But the indigents and the visitors there separated them. They took them to the palace of the king of the land, a sacred place for ultimate judgment. When the case was presented to the king pondered over the matter and then began. Every call is usually followed by a response. Through you called Mbe the small mouse, and he responded accordingly. So that is the end of the matter. But it has now opened a new chapter, a case between you and our land. Through you committed sacrilege. You blasphemed. In the beginning, our God, Chukwu Okike, God the Creator, the Most High, He created all things in such a way that for their continuous existence, they should live in an interdependent manner. That is, all living things should support each other. This is why we are different from one another. My being different from you means that I got something which you don't have and which you need for your existence. And you got something which I need, which I don't have, and which I need for my own existence as well. So through the interrelationship, I give you that which you don't have, and in return, you give me that which I don't have. The relationship is like a relationship between a water supplier and the food producer. A water supplier has water, but he doesn't have food, and for that he would die of starvation. A food producer has food, but he doesn't have water, and for that he would eventually die. So they interrelate in such a way that water supplier supplies water to the food producer, and in return, the food producer supplies food to the water supplier. Through the interrelationship, their well-being and life are preserved. So that is why God created all things to be different from one another. He made some to be big, so that through that, they can supply certain things to others. He made some to be small, and through that, they can supply other things which the big ones cannot supply. So God said, for this, no one should mock any animal because he is different from others. The very day you mock the animal is the very day you mock the wisdom behind the work of his hand. And so that very day you have blasphemed. True, that is what you did. You blasphemed by mocking Mbe the small mouse because of his small size. Even a disadvantaged one, you should not mock him, because it is said, meaning a mockery of a disadvantaged one is a mockery of his chi, his personal God. True, it's not our intention to punish you, because our law forbids that. Our law says that we should not harm any visitor or make life difficult for him. But the law also says that if one blasphemes, he should bring certain items for us to sacrifice to our God and appease him so that he won't punish us. If we don't, he will punish our land. And the punishment will spread to other lands. This is because just as all life is interconnected, communities, societies, homelands are all interconnected in such a way that if one suffers, the suffering spreads to others. If one gains, the gain spreads to others. So to save our community and save your own land, you have to bring these items. They are a vessel of palm wine, a kola nut, a feather of a dove, a head of alligator pepper, a liana fruit, and 2 heads of corns. Say, Paul threw from where was he going to get this? The levy was too much. So he turned into a beggar. He went to a marketplace and saw a dove. He told him his problem and begged him. Dove, being very kind and peace-loving, he put one of his feathers and gave him. Wishing him good luck, then he flew back to his homeland. Cyril then went to a monkey who had loads and loads of liana fruits there. He told him his problem and begged him. The monkey said, "Yes, I can see you are holding something with your hand, a nice feather, a precious one. Give it to me, then take any of the fruit." Cyril told him that if he did, that his problem would not be solved. Then monkey said, "Look, if you got this your long mouth for causing problem for yourself, that is your business. Don't bring it here to destroy my own business. The fruits here are for trade exchange. They are not for charity purpose. But nevertheless, I will give you one on the condition that you don't come here again." So he picked one and threw it at him. Said, "Get out." Cyril picked it and went away. This is how Cyril begged and suffered humiliations after humiliations until he got most of the items. Then he exchanged his little belongings for the rest. He then carried the whole thing to the palace of the king. The king called his priest, who took the items to their shrine for the sacrifice. Cyril followed them to witness the sacrifice. When they got there, they did the sacrifice. After the sacrifice, they showed Cyril images of diverse objects, images of diverse creatures that were there as a symbol of diversity. They were there as a symbol of diversity, the pillar upon which life depends. Since then, Cyril learned his lesson. Even other visitors learned their lessons. Then, after finishing the story, Tortoise asked his audience, "From what I've told you now, which of these two is guilty? Antelope or elephant?" Elephant was deserted. Those that supported him before sided with antelope. It was as though the whole animals were talking. They replied, "Elephant is guilty." Elephant was transfixed. He stood like a withered tree, like a sullen-looking giant statue. He started shaking, trembling with fear as he anticipated punishment. Then Tortoise called the animals. "Members of our community," he said, "before we punish elephant, let us not forget the saying of our fathers. They said, don't punish one because of his mistake. Instead, reserve the punishment until the day he proves that he does not learn from his mistake. So let us not go against the instruction of our fathers. Instead, let us forgive elephant on the condition that he will not repeat what he has done." They all agreed and thanked Tortoise. Life suddenly returned to elephant. Like a plant that is spring season rescued from winter trauma and refreshed, elephant was relieved and revived. Then Tortoise sent them home with these words of advice: "Go in peace, living together loving each other. It was as though the heavens opened and released dew of peace and love that fell upon the animals. They were overjoyed. They sang and danced, hugging each other. Even those who were enemies there before became friends. As they trooped out of the compound merrily, the good relationship went to the extent that a monkey jumped and landed on the neck of a giraffe. The giraffe carried him happily, singing and dancing. So since then, Tortoise was held in high reverence in the community. He was no longer just Tortoise, but now Tortoise the oracle, Igwe the mighty, invincible and the formidable sky. Tortoise achieved this because he identified and applied what was required in solving the problem of his community. He proved that he had the quality of a good leader. On the other hand, Chameleon and Hornbill, they had nothing to offer, yet they wanted to be a leader. To achieve this, they played tricks and counter tricks. But these don't pay, they only lead to failure, blame, and conviction. No wonder the saying, a judgment against a chameleon is against Hornbill, or Ikpe ogwumagala, or okpoko. This shows that a trick is not an asset. It fetches nothing good, it misleads. This is the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. The next activity is going to be a continuation of the African drumming workshop and music engagement. Meanwhile, have a nice day and stay safe.